Hi, and welcome to the Magnificent Misfits podcast, where we intimately explore the lives of successful misfits, delving beyond their achievements to reveal the human stories behind their triumphs. A misfit is anyone who has taken on a journey different from their peers who come from a similar background and who have dared to walk on an undiscovered path. Their stories and journey will hopefully inspire other misfits to carve their own paths. Join me, Sid, as I meet and interact with these amazing people to discuss their life stories. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of Magnificent Misfits. This is the first episode I'm doing with a guest, and I have an amazing guest with me today. I'll tell you more about her as we go on. My guest today is Ani Haykuni, the founder of VANN. Ani and I go back a long way. We went to business school at Oxford together and have been friends for many years. A quick introduction about Ani. Ani is the founder of VANN, a digital health company that provides a community, support, and motivation to people affected by cancer, and aims to revolutionize cancer research globally. Ani grew up in Armenia and now lives in the UK. She completed her master's in engineering from Armenia and then went on to do a master's in international public and NGO management from Syracuse University and natural resource management and policy from State University of New York in the US, and later on an MBA from the Side Business School, University of Oxford. She has worked at organizations such as Sunny Foundation, World Wildlife Fund, CNF, and UNIDO, United Nations International Development Organization, until in 2015, when Ani was first diagnosed with cancer. Ani has lived through cancer twice since 2015 and is cancer-free now. During this period, she has suffered devastating side effects led by treatments and learned about gaps and issues faced by cancer patients. The lack of right information on cancer through her own journey fueled her motivation to start VANN, and with VANN and the foundation, Ani Haykuni Cancer Treatment Support Foundation, she has helped hundreds of cancer patients since 2016. To summarize Ani's character and personality, I would like to quote her, and I quote, "Giving up has never been an option for me, and it will never be. And may it never be an option for you either. Live your life to the fullest and go after your dreams," unquote. So, Ani, thank you so much for making time to be on this podcast today. And I'm so happy to have you here and proud to call you my friend.
Thank you so much, Sid. It's great to be here, and thanks for having me.
Yeah, it is amazing to have you here, Ani. And of course, I know you over the years and I know a bunch of stuff about your journey. And I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people who listen to this today and take away a lot of things that they can use in their own lives. But let's take it right to the beginning, right? And if you could kind of tell our listeners how your childhood was. I know you grew up in Armenia, what your childhood was like. What were those growing up years like?
I had a very good childhood. I grew up, as you said, I grew up in Armenia in a very nice and kind family and a big family. I have the most amazing parents in the world who have been always supportive, and I was very lucky to see and spend a lot of time with my grandparents and with my brothers, and I believe that my childhood played a huge role in helping me become who I am now. And in school, I liked sport very much. I played volleyball, and I liked to paint. I still paint, and I played the piano, and
Amazing.
was very ambitious, goal-oriented girl since I remember myself in the elementary school, since elementary school.
Good in academics?
Yes, I was the
Right from the
best.
beginning.
Right from the beginning. I used to be the best
Wow.
And I like to be the best in whatever I did. That was one of my strengths. So
Okay, amazing. And I mean, I've never asked you this, but is it similar in Armenia to India, for example, where if you're good in academics, you're expected to study engineering or become a doctor? How was it for you? Was it something you wanted to do, or was it like a set expectation?
no, I wouldn't say that it was like, at least it wasn't like that in my family. So
Okay.
I remember since my childhood, I loved solving problems. So I like to solve problems, and and my father is an innovator, and he's done a lot of great stuff, and I just liked engineering very much, and I finished my high school when I was 16, so I got accepted into the university when I was 16,
Wow.
and yeah, I mean I enjoyed it very much. So my degree was my first degree, undergraduate degree was in forestry engineering, which was basically two programs combined into mechanical engineering and forest management.
And I'm guessing you enjoyed engineering studies and you enjoyed your time at university.
I did very much.
Okay. And after that, of course, like, how did your kind of journey proceed after that in terms of your education? You, of course, went ahead and did two masters and then your MBA. How did those decisions happen for you?
So I finished my first master's in 2007. And at the end of the program, I was invited to work with a team from the Yale University from the US to do a joint program in Armenia. So we had to do forest management, I would say forest inventory. So I was selected from the university and I was leading a team of volunteers and students to help the Yale team. So that project in 2007 was very successful. And then I was invited to work with that team and in collaboration with a non-profit organization based in Armenia. So I worked there for a couple of years, and in 2009 I got accepted into this program which was called Edmund Muskie Fellowship. So this fellowship was supported by the Department of State, U.S. Department of State. So I was among, I believe, 11 or 12 people from Armenia that went to the U.S. to continue their education. So it was I received a scholarship and I did my joint degree at the State University of New York and Syracuse University, Maxwell School of Citizenship and Public Affairs in International Relations and in International and Public and NGO Management. And that program again, it was great. And when I was in New York, I worked on a couple of projects, and one of them was very successful. So I received recognition. Then I got accepted into the PhD at State University of New York, but I decided that I was not going to do a PhD at that time. I wanted to be involved in more active, projects and activities. So I went back home in 2011, and I worked for World Wildlife Fund, United Nations Industrial Development Organization, with private companies within the scope of sustainable development, environmental management. So I was advising them to improve their operations to be more sustainable. I worked with CNF. I was having this very fun and active life, working on several projects simultaneously, and doing an MBA and studying at Oxford was on my to-do list. So it was on the top list, something that I had to do. I had to accomplish. And in 2015, I believe it was March or April, I got accepted into the MBA program, the same program that we did,
Yep.
but in 2015. And, I was very excited that I was going to go to Oxford and, finally accomplish and, what I was working towards for such a long time. But a couple of months before my departure, I do believe that our program was supposed to start in September 19 or 20. And in July, in the middle of July, I went to the hospital for a checkup. I had this strange pain in my right arm, and I had no idea what was going on. I had the symptoms for a couple of weeks. So I was diagnosed with cancer, and I deferred my admissions till 2016. I recovered from cancer treatments in 2016. I came to Oxford. That's where we
Yep.
met.
And of course, we will chat in more detail
Yes.
about
Yeah.
your journey through that. But yeah, thanks for that. I mean, even if you look at your journey until 2016, it is pretty interesting, huh? I mean, you did a bunch of stuff, worked at a bunch of interesting organizations, and I'm guessing you also, of course, were based in the US, but the work was closely still linked with Armenia in some level, right? Or was it not?
So one of the projects that I was involved in, it was in forest management. It was in New York State. There is a huge forest area.
Yep.
And I worked with my supervisor, who is Dr. Ralph Nyland. And Ralph Nyland is one of the known silviculturists in the US. He's done amazing work. And so I worked with him, and we did, again, created a forest management plan for that area. So it was very successful. And in terms of Armenia, in the US, my work, I would say, wasn't really linked to Armenia, but the experience and the knowledge that I received, it went to help Armenia and a few other projects that I was involved before going to the US and after the US.
Got it. Okay. And of course, before we jump into your life and your journey, if you could kind of tell our listeners a little bit about what you're doing with VANN.
Sure. I've lived through cancer twice. And the first time I had my diagnosis in 2015, as I said, and the second time it was in 2019. So after my second diagnosis, I decided that I was going to start a company that would go to support and motivate millions of people from around the world, to unite them and help cancer research. This is because for about since 2015, within the scope of my work with hundreds of cancer patients, I realized that majority of all the patients face the same issues and the same problems. And I was lucky enough to have family, friends, a huge support network, but based on my experience, majority of patients don't have that. So, and then the second, I realized that, look, there is lack of information about cancer. We don't really know this disease that much. We don't know why it's developing, why it's coming back. We don't know how it affects the quality of life of patients long term. I mean, we do have some research going on in the world by different organizations and teams, but we have to involve patients and learn from them. And that's the reason why I founded VANN. And it's a funny story, actually. When my oncologist in 2019 told me that, I had cancer, I decided that, right, this is the right time for me to start this company. And I developed the company along with my treatments. I used to receive I would receive my chemo at the hospital, and then I ran to the university, to the Oxford
Wow.
University Innovation co-working space. And I would, do the planning for my startup. That's how I developed VANN. And it's been supported by the Oxford University Innovation, as I said, the Innovate UK, the Oxlab Business European Regional Development Fund, and angel investors. So the aim of the company is to provide motivation community and support to people affected by cancer, and to revolutionize cancer research, to help find answers to questions about this disease. And it's been a great journey so far. We launched the product last year, which is a mobile app and the platform and the web
Yes.
app.
Yeah. No, it's a pretty ambitious project you've taken on with VANN, and it's clearly a moonshot project because, like you said, not too much is known. There is enough research happening, and yet, it requires some degree of ambition and gumption to go through to find some answers and solutions in that space. So, yeah, absolutely. Kudos to you for that.
Thank
And
you.
now is a good time to segue into your own journey. And I must tell the listeners, Ani is being very gracious in sharing her own life and journey because it's not easy to talk about for many people, I guess. It's not easy to talk through some of these experiences, but Ani has been doing it actively, not just today, but even before this, she's been doing this, and I'm sure many people benefit from just listening to experiences of Ani or anybody else who's lived through, how to kind of go through treatment for cancer. So thanks, Ani, for doing this again, and I'm hoping that there are many people who will benefit from listening to you today. So I first wanted to ask you, the first time you mentioned when you got to know you had cancer, what was that experience like? What were some of your emotions? How did you kind of, when you got to know about it, how did you deal with it? What was the support you had? How did you then get back on your feet? You're, of course, a very strong person. I know you as a very strong person. But what was that period like the first time around?
So the first time when I went to the hospital for a checkup, and I had no idea that I had cancer, and I was with my mom that day. I asked her to come with me, and I went, and so I had ultrasound. It's a sonography. It's a scan for it's kind of one of the checkups, and then they told me to have a mammogram. And so I had the mammogram, and then I noticed that all the doctors and nurses at that department, they kind of went out. I had no idea what was going on. And then when I left the room, I saw that they were talking about something in doctor's office. So they called me, and my mom wasn't with me. She was in a waiting area, and they said, "Hey, look, is there anybody else with you?" I said, "Yes, my mom is here." And they called my mom, and they basically showed me on the screen on the desktop of the computer, and that they found something. They found a tumor. They told me it's something like a tumor, but we are quite confident that it's tumor. And my first question was, first of all, okay, what do you think? Is it, so I said, is it cancer? And they said, yes, we're pretty sure that it's cancer. And I said, can it be treated? They said, yes, probably. It depends on the treatments, it depends on the type of cancer. And I looked at my mom's face, and I saw that she was, she got very emotional, because it's not something that the parent would like to, it's not the news that a parent would like to hear about, her daughter. But
And how old were you, Ani, at that time?
I was 29. I was
29.
29. But, my reaction was very cold. I didn't cry. I didn't got emotional. I didn't say, oh, why me? Oh, this can't be. I was like, okay, you told me something. It's something unusual. And let me see how we can sort it out. And then I, asked her some follow-up questions about the treatment. But I didn't panic. I didn't cry. Then they advised me to go to see the surgeon, the oncologist surgeon. And we went there. We saw the oncologist, and they said that they needed to have some follow-up checkups, tests, in order to confirm the diagnosis, and then they would confirm the final, like the type of cancer, because depending on the type of cancer, then the treatments will be, will be different. And then when we, after a couple of weeks, when we went to see that oncologist surgeon, he told me that yes, it's aggressive type of cancer, and that you need to start your treatments immediately. And I said, okay, well, can you treat me within a couple of months because I have to go to Oxford in September? And they said, no, I'm sorry, we can't. you need to wait. But I like from the first day, something was telling me that everything was going to be all right, and I just couldn't, said I couldn't give up. Like I couldn't just leave it there and go and cry, and which is okay. I mean, a lot of people, it's a normal reaction to diagnosis. I don't want to kind of criticize anybody who doesn't have the same reaction as me, but we just decided, my family and we decided to support each other. We said, look, this is what we've got, and we just need to, do our best to meet the challenges as they are, and recover.
It's pretty amazing that that was the spirit that you had and the family had, and you were always positive from the beginning. Okay, that is amazing. And this, I'm guessing, happened in Armenia, right? When
Yes. The
okay,
first diagnosis was in Armenia.
was in Armenia. Okay. And I don't know too much about the medical infrastructure or healthcare setup in Armenia. When you underwent your treatment there, is the system good enough to kind of go through those treatments when you compare it to the UK, for example? Or you were okay, but maybe you were one of the lucky ones. How would you define it?
So there is certainly, there are differences, and in the system in the UK and in Armenia. Like in Armenia back then, we didn't have any, any insurance, not even a private insurance. So whatever the bills you had to, pay, for instance, for your treatments, and the type of cancer that I had, we were talking about like in total, combined all the treatments, I mean, it would go up to, I don't know, 50, 60 $1,000.
Wow.
We were able to kind of successfully. I was able to receive good quality treatments, and then when I came to the UK, and later on, because I had to bring all my paperwork with me to share with my GP, I believe in here. So I got a confirmation that, look, I received very good treatments. Like everything was in order according to the protocols, and but certainly there are some differences. And like in developing countries, there are there are issues. There are issues here in the UK as well. There are gaps in the healthcare system as well. So.
Okay, let's now fast forward a little bit. And of course, we had the MBA in between. That's when I got to know you. And the second time around, how was that experience different? When did you get to know of that? Um, and was the emotion more of, hey, I just recovered, I just went through treatment and I've come out of this. What's this again? Or were you still positive?
Well, the second time when I had my diagnosis, well, I had to have several, several checkups and biopsies before they would confirm that. Again, they found cancer, but I was, I already had the experience, so I knew what I was going through.
Okay.
And when I went to see my oncologist in the office, when he came in with with paperwork and with all the stuff, and when he told me that I had cancer, I was like, "Ah, okay,
The second time was in
forever."
the UK?
Second time was in the UK.
Hmm.
After we finished the MBA in 2017, 18, right? Our formal graduation was in 2018. I stayed in the UK, and I was doing a startup in clean energy. I had a startup already. And when they found cancer, so I was in Oxford. So when they told me the diagnosis, I said, okay, well, okay, that's whatever. And I have the experience already. And, I went through the same chemotherapy. I went through the same treatments. I knew what it was. And I had, as I said already, the project in my mind, VANN. So I was very passionate about it. And I wasn't really thinking about my disease. I was thinking about this company that I was going to work on. And
So actually related to that, and this is not necessarily related to your cancer treatment, is do you think in general when you're going through, let's say, some sort of a tough circumstance, if you have a North Star, if you have a guiding light or a dream you're chasing, it makes it a lot easier? Or you actually don't focus on that and you focus all your energies on what you want to do?
it actually helps. It certainly helps. And I think one of the things that people should avoid, whether, I mean, it's cancer, during cancer treatments, or it's kind of a challenge or a different challenge, well, first of all, you shouldn't avoid that challenge, right? You kind of need to face it. You need to understand. You need to analyze it, understand it, and then move on.
Yeah.
What happens very often is that patients, let's say cancer patients, they just stay focused on their diagnosis so much, and they keep asking themselves, okay, why me? Why did I have cancer, not someone else? Those are the questions that I've never asked. Like, I've never said why me and not someone else. Like, I was 29 when I had my diagnosis. I said, whatever it is, yeah, that's fine. Now, I had goals. Like, I wanted to come to Oxford. I had a lot of, dreams, I would say, plans or goals. So it helped me very much.
Yeah.
And that should be the attitude to every challenge and every problem that I would advise people to apply.
I was also curious to know, the second time around you said you were undergoing your treatment, you also had started VAN by then, right? So being
Yes.
an entrepreneur, as if it's not tough already, you were also going through your treatment at the time. It must have been physically and mentally demanding, right? I mean, physically you must be exhausted after your chemo sessions. Uh, I mean, I'm
Yes.
sorry to sound like I'm prying into what happened or making you go through these experiences, but how did you kind of go through all that? What was the inner strength? Was it still the motivation that, okay, I have Van and this is what I want to do, and you somehow found the energy to do it?
Yes. Yes, exactly. So basically, I'm not sure how much you know about the chemotherapy and how chemo works. So, but the chemotherapy drugs are different. But usually, this is how it works. You receive the chemo, and then it makes you very sick for usually for 10 days,
Hmm.
and then you recover. Then depending on, let's say, if the chemo is given every 3 weeks, then you have, let's say, 2 weeks to feel you feel quite well in between.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say quite well. I mean, it depends. But again, you're ill, but you still can be active. So I would receive my chemo at the hospital. Then I would go to the Oxford University Innovation where I was based for work. I would finish the work. I would come back the next couple of days because that's when I was feeling okay. And then usually I would take 1 or 2 days off because I was very ill because of the side effects of chemo. So it would make me really, really sick. And
Got it.
then since it was over, as it was over, and I was like, I could walk, I could like type, I would just go back to the Oxford University Innovation and continue my work on the startup. I had to eat a lot, I had to drink a lot, I had to eat a lot of fruits and be careful in the meantime because my immune system was compromised. So I had to be very
Right.
careful not to catch any viruses or infections. And it was during COVID as well, COVID pandemic. So it was like an extra layer of, I don't know, like another challenge for everyone. But there was so much energy in me. There was so much like passion I wanted to do it so much that I just didn't have the time to focus on my diagnosis. And also I remember right from the start of my chemotherapy, I called ambulance within a couple of months, probably for like 11 times,
Wow.
because that's how chemo worked, and that's how sick I was. But it's just, I loved what I was doing. I lived with this idea of creating something for others, and then finding the meaning, finding my goal. And that's the most important thing, you see, when you know what you're doing, or you know where you are going, and you have this light that guides you. And and that was a very important factor for me as well.
Amazing. I'm just sitting here taking all this in, and this is so amazing. I mean, we'll of course, we'll chat about this, but I just feel like this is at least gonna like speak to a lot of people who want to chase their dreams but find excuses. So all of you listening to all this, what's your excuse? You shouldn't have any after listening to this. That's amazing.
Thank you.
Okay, Ani, now I want to like touch upon, I mean, of course, we've been chatting about your journey in terms of your health, but I must make an honest admission. I didn't know anything about your health when I met you at Oxford. We became friends. Much later is when I got to know about your journey in terms of your health and later on. You have, even apart from that, been a very unconventional person. The choices you made, the journey you've had is a different one.
Mhm.
What makes you take these choices you make in life, and how do you see yourself as different from your peers? What makes you different from them?
I would say a lot of things, but I remember since my childhood. I mean, I was like 7 or 8 years old when I realized I was quite different from my peers.
Hmm.
Like things that were interesting for me, like my peers, again, which is normal. The things that would spend some time on, and or even the level of thinking or the interests. Like I was very interested in, problem solving. I was very interested in sport. I was also quite time efficient. Like I wouldn't go and spend my time, waste my time on things that I didn't find important. Like imagine I'm like 7 or 8 years old. Like
Hmm.
she already knew what she had to do in order not to waste her time. I think that's what made me different from others. And eventually what happened at 16, I finished my university. I knew what I was going to do in the future. And I fulfilled my dreams when I like all my dreams that I had since my childhood. I accomplished them when I was 24.
Wow.
So I had to come up with some new dreams and new goals. And I can say that it's probably my approach to a lot of things, including problems and challenges, my views to life, my thinking. I always like to go after the most challenging. I would take the most challenging path. If there was like
Wow.
easy one and then the difficult one, I would go after the difficult one
Why
because
is that? Is it because you love challenges and you feel a certain drive when you find something challenging to do?
I guess, yeah, it's because of my personality. The thing is that you can certainly do like go after and do things like simple things, like for instance I would just go and have a simple, just a regular job, do my job, and then go home, take some rest. But I wanted to find my mission, and challenges would cope me. I would learn so much from them, and it it makes my life also quite interesting as well.
Which is I think kind of the next thing I wanted to ask you, okay? You've made some choices. You spoke about some of them at a young age. What is the one choice you made in life, early in life, or at any point that at the time seemed maybe stupid? but really worked wonders for you in the long run?
I think it's not just one choice. I've made a lot of choices that brought me here, but where I am now, and all the success that I've had. But I can actually I can actually tell you two things instead of one.
Okay, sure.
So the first one was the decision to learn English. So
Interesting.
right from the elementary school, I had French as my foreign language, and the high school and the university. So if in order to go into do a master's degree for the admissions, I had to pass French.
Is the education in Armenia in French language or
No,
is
it's
it
in Armenian,
it's in
but
Armenian?
yeah, but we also have a foreign language. We need to have
Okay,
like so Russian, and we had Russian, and also we had to choose whether it's French or English or
got it.
German. In
So
my
you were
school,
one of
it
the
was
very few
French.
people who probably learned English as a foreign language in your
Exactly.
school.
So it was French. Like I loved French. I wanted
Oh, it
to
was
go and
French.
study in France when I was actually I was thinking about it when I was at the university. And then I spoke with my supervisor in Armenia, who was the head of the Foreign Affairs, Department of Foreign Affairs at the university, the Agrarian University of Armenia. And then he said, "Look, I think it's great that you know French, that you want to improve your French skills. If you want to make a career overseas, or if you want to become, a professional and expert that would be known by others, at the international level, I would advise you to learn English." And it was in 2007. I said, okay. So I started learning English. I do believe I took like a short course, like 1 or 2 months, to learn the alphabet and then the letters and how to read and how to write. But within a year, I worked so much on my English that at the end of 2008, I believe, or beginning of 2009, I passed TOEFL. I passed my TOEFL and I got accepted into the State University of New York. And so I do believe that English made a huge role, because if I didn't make that decision back in 2007, then I wouldn't be here. And then the second one is the first time I got accepted into the PhD in 2007 in Armenia, at the same department that I was doing my master's degree. And I just decided that I was not going to do that PhD. If I did the PhD, I would probably spend 3, 4, if not 5 years doing the research instead of being involved in more active, projects. I wouldn't even go to the US. So those are like the two decisions that I'm happy that I made years ago.
Excellent. Excellent. Amazing. Amazing. I loved your answer there. Okay, now related to that, now this is the opposite. What's a choice you made early in life? It could be with respect to your work, career, life in general, that you thought is amazing. Oh, this is like the best thing, and it didn't work out for you well later on in life.
Sid, I don't believe I don't believe that it was the case. That had I made a choice that had kind of that I was disappointed in the future. I think, of course, there were things that didn't work out, and there were things that were very successful. But I think I'm here again. I've come this long because of the experience, because of all the negative and positive things that happened in my life, that I learned from them. So probably I would say that there was none.
Okay,
Like,
okay, all right. Now I'm going to ask you a tough one, okay, because you've had a few successes. You
okay.
have to pick one. Which one would you say is your biggest success in life? And you can pick only one. I'm making it a little difficult for you. It could be work, it could be anything.
I certainly would say living through one of the most deadliest diseases, living through it and not only recovering, but also learning so much and learning about myself, like the self-discovery, the person that I am now. It's probably the biggest success that I've had so far. It's the ability to go through that challenge, which sometimes I don't really call a challenge, but still, and becoming who I am now. And I know so much about myself, about my life, and the future. I found myself. That's the biggest. That's the success.
Amazing. Can't agree more. That's amazing. Cool. I think we've had like a lot of intense questions, conversations. I think we'll move on to the next segment. Okay. So Ani, this is called Shorts, where
Okay.
I'll ask you some questions. These might have an agree, disagree, yes, no component to it, a choice, and a quick explanation for why you chose that. So let's move into shorts. So the first one, tough circumstances feel like a punishment at first, but eventually shape one's character. Agree or disagree?
Agree.
Okay. And I kind of know why you've already explained it, but maybe a one-liner.
Look, I believe that we are here. We came to this world for a reason, and sometimes it may not be clear for everyone what's their mission, but all those experiences, all those negative experiences, or if they if they seem negative experiences, they teach us something. So we need to learn from them, and the more we learn, the better we become. And that's kind of the rule. That's how life works. And we always need to remember that there are things that are out of our control. We can't control everything. And it's best to accept that challenge, whatever happened, learn from it, and move on.
Okay, excellent. The next one, comparing oneself to others is the biggest crime. Agree or disagree? If not, what is the biggest crime?
I totally agree. I agree that you should not compare yourself to others because others are different. Everyone is different. Their stories are different. Their lives are different. Personalities are different. You don't really know what's going on with that person, right?
Yeah.
You don't know. And it's best to just focus on yourself. Do your best. Be the best version of yourself. I'm not sure if I would say that it's the biggest crime. It's
Okay.
certainly a crime,
Okay. Are there any
but
other big crimes that come to your mind apart from comparison?
yeah, I mean there are several ones, certainly, but I guess you should.
I remember once you had told me about being harsh on yourself as something you should not, it's a crime. You should never be too harsh on oneself.
Yeah, you should certainly, first of all, you should take care of yourself
Yeah.
and kind of self reflect and see, to be okay, to say that it's okay to be okay.
Yeah.
There might be hard times and good times. Just you need to learn to navigate and be kind. And one thing I certainly need to say, it's one of the crimes that I do believe is not being kind to parents. Like if someone is not kind to their parents, it's something that I can't accept. It doesn't matter what the circumstances are, what happened, and just have the respect towards your family.
Can't agree more. Okay. The next one. A sense of community is extremely important for one to go through tough times in life. Agree or disagree? And by community, I mean here maybe not just immediate family, people beyond that.
I agree. I agree that someone that one certainly needs the community support, community, friends, or family, or just in general when they are going through tough times. But one thing I should emphasize is that it may not be the case always. Like if someone doesn't really have that support, maybe they don't have a family, or they don't have friends at that point.
Yeah,
Like when you find your inner strength, you find that energy in you. That's gonna make a lot of difference. But I think it's certainly good for people to be considerate towards others. If they see like their family member, their friend, something is going on with them, just be more supportive. And it doesn't have to be making a lot of efforts. It could be just like one nice message, one nice word, and that can make a lot of difference
yeah,
in
absolutely.
in someone's life.
Now, a quirky shot, okay? Oxford is better than Cambridge. Agree or disagree, and why?
Oxford is better than Cambridge.
Yeah, agree or disagree, and why?
I absolutely agree. Of course, I agree. Oxford is the best.
Yeah,
It's the
true.
family.
Okay, and what's like your one lasting memory from the MBA, from that 1 year?
Just one.
But yeah, even more than one. Go for it. Whatever comes to your mind.
What I can say is, I spoke a lot about my journey and my treatments and so on. When I went to Oxford in 2016, and it was right after my treatments hospital. Like I left the hospital. I left treatments, like my support network, my family, friends, and everyone. Literally, I made that decision to come to Oxford because I knew that I had to do the MBA. I came to this different world, like the
Hmm.
MBA business. Everyone was just very interested in business. It was like the business, like it's business arena. It's the business world, and I came having this different mindset. So it was a very interesting and very unusual experience at the beginning, and I've met so many nice people, and kind people, and made friends at Oxford, and learned a lot from them. And I hope that I've been able to kind of share some of my knowledge and experience with them. I think it was one of the best 12 months,
Hmm.
yeah, in my life. With very good memories. I mean, I liked for instance, the formal dinners at the
Yeah.
at the colleges.
Yeah.
Was Oh, and also the sport activities.
Hmm.
Uh, I'm not sure if you were there, but we won. Like I think we were the
Yes, we did.
first. I think we
We
were the
won the
first
MBAT.
batch.
Yes. Yes,
Yeah,
we did. We were the first batch that won the MBAT.
yeah.
Yes.
I played table tennis, so.
Oh, nice. So, Ani, I've come to the end of this podcast today. It has been amazing listening to the stuff you have shared today. And as always, my respect for you has always been there and will continue to grow. And I'm so proud to have you as a friend. And I know, although we don't meet and we don't speak that often, but whenever I do reach out to you, you reach out to me. It's so fun catching up and it's so inspiring. And I wish you all the best with VANN and hope that you scale all the mountains that you want to scale in your lifetime. So thank you, Ani. Thank you for doing this.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Sid. I mean, it's been fun having this conversation, and thank you so much for having me as your first guest for your for your podcast. Uh, yeah, and good luck and all the best for you as well.
Yeah, thanks, Ani. And to all the listeners, I want to quote Ani once again. This is something I said right at the top of the episode, which is I want to quote her: Giving up has never been an option for me, and it will never be. And may it never be an option for you either. Live your life to the fullest and go after your dreams. You've just listened to Ani speak today. what's your excuse to not chase your dreams? So I leave it at that. Thank you so much for listening to this episode and see you next time around. So that was today's episode. Before I wrap up, I want to take a moment to express my gratitude to you for tuning in. If you've enjoyed today's conversation, I'd like to ask for your help in spreading the word about the podcast. If you think there's someone in your life who might enjoy listening to the Magnificent Misfits podcast, please consider sharing it with them. Also, if you're active on social media, we'd love for you to give us a shout out and tag us at MN Podcast Show. That's MN Podcast Show. Thank you and see you soon.